Oh, that was a shot of gin, and this is fresh. Oh Lord, that was a lot more violent than I thought it would be. Yes, no, this was sorely needed. Why? Oh dear, I did not plan this well. Why? Because okay, this is actually the first time I've laughed in about the last hour because I've been to see The Collector at the Space. Now, okay, so see, this video is going to be a lot like this because, to be honest, to try and really try to process this again, and I know I said this about Gods and Monsters, what I find most difficult about that was to process it. This even more so. If I'm going to try to sum it up the best I can right this moment, pretty much having literally got back into the house, sat down, had myself a shot of horrid gin. Not that gin is horrid, this particular one is. Tesco's finest, my bum. This is, if I said, if to try and sum this up, this is possibly one of the most horrific and depraved things I've seen in theatre ever. And this is coming from someone who's seen Mercury Fur, which was pretty damn depraved. This was just something else. And that's not to say that this is full of gore or full of supernatural beings doing heinous things to people. No, this is the worst sort of horror that you can get. It's people doing things to people. Nothing is more terrifying, I think, than the human being, and this really just goes to show it. I am absolutely and 100% disturbed by this show. And I mean that. I know some people think I probably let my passion and my emotions run away with myself a bit too much as a reviewer. But I mean, to me, theatre's always been about an emotional response, and I know that my role is to sort of frame that emotional response within a structure of criticism. But this was just something else. It's one of the few times I've actually been to the theatre and I've actually felt physically sick to the stomach about what's being played on. Interestingly, David from London City Nights has been to see it a few nights before, and we caught up on another thing, and he said, like, by the end of the show you'll want to punch the main character, and I thought, like, yeah, it's an exaggeration. I'm just like, no, you absolutely do. And not just punch him, you just want to Okay, let me try and put this. Let me try and compose myself. No more gin, because I think that's probably going to make it worse. I don't know, actually, because some of the best videos I've done so far when I've been off my face. It is based on the novel by John Fowles. It's been adapted by Mark Healy. It's about a man who has always had this fantasy about kidnapping this girl he's developed an obsession with. But then, having recently won the lottery, he actually has the means to do this. And pretty much the entire play here takes place in the basement of a secluded country cottage where he's keeping his prisoner. And it's just completely messed up. What's interesting and what is most messed up about it is that this is not your kind of like completely crazy, deranged sort of madman. This is someone who is very quiet, incredibly calculating, and far more sociopathic than you could ever imagine, or that you could ever divulge just from the initial veneer. And that's what's scary about it. Especially when as the play trundles along, and I don't mean that. I don't mean trundle as in band painting. As the play goes along, it gets worse and worse and worse, and you just get to the point where you have no idea, unless you've already read the book. If you've not read the book, you have no idea where it's going on. You have absolutely no clue about what the main character is capable of, but also what the his prisoner is capable of, and you are on absolute tenterhooks. You are absolutely horrified by the subject, horrified by the main character. It's I think I might need another shot of gin. Just thinking about it. I am actually going to have nightmares. Actually, if I don't have a nightmare tonight, I'm going to be pretty damn surprised, because I'm that messed up by it. Let's actually try to start taking things apart from a production point of view. That actually might be able to give me a bit more to go by. So I think what really drives this entire show is the cast. There's only two of them. It's a very tight two-hander. So we got Amy Gardin as Miranda Gray, the prisoner, as it were. I'm going to start with her first, because she's going to be... because... I don't know why, actually. I don't know why. It's just because she's the first one on the cast list of two. I wasn't sure at first. I don't know. It's just, she just seemed a little unconvincing at first. But like thinking of it, like how do you do a character in this situation? What can you actually? It's a totally unbelievable situation, and I have. You know, I could not have done it anywhere near as good as she. It's just weird. It starts off weird because the situation is just ridiculous in that it's unthinkable and unsavoury. But what I loved about her is just her progress through the play. Once she starts getting, once the character starts getting into the situation, as it were, starts to think, starts to calculate, starts to plan. It's when the character comes into her own. It's when Amy does as well. By the end of it, she looked absolutely shattered, completely different from what she was at the beginning. But what I loved was when the times. So the whole thing of this play is that the power constantly shifts between the two. You never know who's going to have it next, or for how long, and how successful it's going to be. When she has the power, she is just dominating. There are times in the play where your focus is totally riveted on one of the characters. At the beginning, it's mostly her co-star Benjamin Victor, who I'll get onto in a moment. But there's points where it's totally her. She really commands it when her character is commanding, and when her character isn't, she's so vulnerable. Your heart goes out to her. You feel marred by what you're witnessing happens to her, and she plays that so well. This is probably the least constructive criticism I've ever given, because it's so difficult to try and think about how to put this into words, especially fresh off the stalls, as this is what this is called. Straight away after a show as well. Benjamin Victor is easier to do in that I don't ever want to meet him in a dark alley. He is the most... Norman Bates has absolutely nothing on this guy. I am petrified by him. I mean, he completely looks the part as well. I almost want to say insectoid. It goes very much with the themes of entomology in the play. I don't know. His I'll show you. Like, he actually looks quite dashing in his headshot. I don't know what he's done to himself to make him look weedy, angular, awkward, and almost actually ugly. And I don't mean this in a very sort of shallow aesthetic way, but everything about his character is ugly. But he's brilliant. I love how he does have these sort of wonderful sort of long speeches who adapted this again? Mark Healy's text. But he just performed them so naturally. It's almost as if you were listening to an actual person. It was almost as if he's doing this verbatim. He's that natural. Everything down to stumbles, pauses, ticks. What I love most about him though is like he constantly has this very distant, glazed look, and he keeps it up right the way through the show. Even during the moment that he snaps and suddenly becomes someone that he was totally not before. There's still that sort of glazeness. It's a real sort of look of utter madness to him, and a very dangerous madness, and you don't get how dangerous it is until you actually see Benjamin Victor there. You do want to, I'd be very surprised if, actually I won't be that surprised, I would be surprised if by the end of this run someone hasn't actually just run onto stage and start yelling at him or punching at him, or actually trying to intervene, because what goes on there is so deplorable. It's very, very difficult to sit there as an audience, as a voyeur. One of the other things I really, really want to talk about before I go and possibly finish off the rest of this bottle is Lot Roof Johnson's direction and the production on the whole. It's very awkward, and I kind of think that's what's best about it. I know that sounds like really weird praise. I had a brief past life as a film critic. I still really love film. It's one of my big regrets at the moment is I don't see much of it nowadays, because I'm constantly doing theatre. Sound is very, very, very important. Well, there's none of it in a sense for this. There is no music, there is no ambient noise added to it. You just have the incredibly flat and dead silence of the space's space. And that in itself is petrifying. In any other sort of general production, you'd notice it, you'd feel it. That sort of acoustic and that sort of deadness of sound would really suck energy from a show. But here, it makes you feel so uncomfortable, especially as when Benjamin the actor / Frederick the character comes and unlocks the door. You hear it. You also hear the rustle of keys from before it even reaches the lock, and you prick up at it to the point that later on you are constantly anticipating when that's going to happen, when it's just Amy and her character on the stage. You hear everything, and when you don't hear everything, it's oppressive. And it really adds to that claustrophobia. The pacing as well is some parts. So the part where they play a bit and then there's some sort of monologue is also really awkward. It breaks it up, but I love the fact it feels that awkward, because everything about the narrative is wrong and messed up. And I love the fact that. And I apologise if this wasn't actually purposeful of the production. It feels that nothing feels comfortable. You are made through the production and through the direction to be unsettled at every point. If it's not the narrative, it's how the show is produced. That deadness of sound, that awkwardness of the pacing. It's incredibly and very subtly immersive. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there, because I'm looking at the timer. I can't believe I've gone on for 13 minutes, which is a bit longer than I usually aim to do these. But see this. This is better than any sort of slasher horror film. I'm a big fan of the horror genre, but this is truly disturbing. As I said, I am probably going to have nightmares tonight if I don't drink myself to oblivion beforehand, which I genuinely feel like doing right now. I'm not by myself. The cat's around somewhere. You've probably seen her wandering in the background. So, yeah, this is going to be a doozy to write up, because I'm probably going to have to A, sober up, B, gather my countenance again to actually get down to this, especially as I still haven't finished the review of Lardo, which I don't think I'm going to finish tonight now, because it's just nope, absolutely can't. I need sugar drops and loveliness, and I wish I had some hugs. Believe it or not, I actually suggested buying an extra ticket and taking a date to this tonight. I thought it might be fun. Some of the theatre I read is usually quite good. It should be fine. Lovely romantic evening of watching someone torture someone in capacity. I did think about going on about some of the finer nuances in the narrative. I'll leave that for the written one because I've witted on for 15 minutes now. Okay, good night. I am going, and more gin. Yes, please, Vicar. Ta-ra.